All right. Welcome back to No Filter MMA. This is your boy BJ back with another post-fight video reaction. Guys, our boy, Steve the Mean Machine Garcia batters Calvin Kattar for 3 rounds. Steve, this was kind of like this fight was kind of like somebody who's on the downslope versus somebody who's on the upslope. A classic down up fight. You know what I'm saying? And Steve Garcia went in there and showed his level, man. I think he's way overdue for a ranked fight. He was supposed to fight Edson Barboza. Edson couldn't make it to the fight for some reason or another. I'm not sure what happened there. But Steve Garcia went out there and showed his level last night. He showed that he is worthy of fighting a ranked contender, somebody like Calvin Kattar. You know what I'm saying? And Calvin Kattar, some of the best boxing in the featherweight division. He's been known to knock people out, man. And Steve Garcia went in there and boxed with him, boxed with Calvin Kattar, outboxed him, and fought very rangy, fought very smart. He kept the pressure on, pressure fighter. He showed more of a patience in this fight, and I love that for Steve Garcia. He showed a lot of patience. He used his distance management. And round one, man. Round one, it was just Steve Garcia set the pace for the fight, man. He set the pace for what, he showed us what rounds 2 and 3 were going to look like in round one. Just in Calvin Kattar's face, that long, wide stance. Did y'all see Steve Garcia's stance last night? It was very long. He was throwing out his jab. They were fighting in opposites. They were both fighting in the same stance, so it was kind of that. What's the thing? What's the word I'm looking for? Excuse me, opposite stance. They were fighting in opposite stance. But it was kind of like that pawing, you know what I'm saying? That lead hand was kind of nullified for both of them. So it made them both think, you know what I'm saying? And it seems like Steve Garcia was a little more prepared for the split stances because Steve was so much more accurate with his punches. It seemed like Calvin Kattar wasn't quite ready. I think he was ready for the stance. I don't think he was quite ready for the activity and the volume of Steve Garcia, because Steve was kicking him to the body. Steve was jabbing him. Right hands was coming down. Steve was ducking out of the way of punches and countering perfectly. And it was just kind of the same story for rounds 2 and 3. And Steve Garcia, dude, when he in round 2, man, Steve Garcia sat Calvin Kattar down with a right hand, man. And it was just like, but he didn't overly try to finish Calvin Kattar, which I thought he showed some growth. You know what I'm saying? He knocked Calvin Kattar down, but he went after it, but he didn't when he realized he couldn't, he didn't knock him out at the moment, he kind of backed off and went back to his game plan, which was, stand at range, picking him off, hitting him with hard shots. Now, Steve got hit in this fight, man. He did. Calvin Kattar landed some good punches on Steve, but Steve was composed, and his punches were just harder, man. And by round 2, you could see that Calvin Kattar was like, man, this dude is good. You know what I'm saying? You could just see it. You could just see defeat in Calvin Kattar's face, man. And I don't really know where Calvin Kattar goes from here. He's probably going to be ranked number 15. Steve Garcia is going to be ranked number 14 because Calvin Kattar was number 14. But Steve Garcia is in the fucking rankings. Like, this guy is in the rankings. I don't know what direction they're going to go with him. I don't know if they're going to make him fight somebody unranked. I would hope not. I would hope that they would pursue forward with Steve Garcia, like give him a number 10, somebody within the top 10 or like the number 12 or a number 11 fighter. Like, let this guy, claw his way up. But Steve is the type of person, as we know from the multiple interviews that I've had with Garcia, he's in no rush to climb the rankings. He's in no rush to be in the top 5. He wants to do it the right way. And it looks like he's doing it the right way. 5 unranked finishes in a row, and then you get up into a ranking and you get, you batter somebody that's ranked for 3 rounds. That sounds like the right trajectory for me, But Steve just looked great tonight, man. they both kind of slowed a little bit in the third round. It's like Calvin Kattar came back to life in the third round, and his footwork was together because he was making Steve miss a lot. But, you know, even making Steve miss a lot, he was still outstriking Calvin Kattar. You know, he was still landing the bigger shots, you know, and things like that. And again, you know, didn't really see much cage work in here. I didn't expect this fight to have a lot of clinching and stuff in it. I really didn't expect that. I think Steve's last fight, you know, his opponent was trying to clinch him up and slow him down. Kyle Nelson, I believe. I don't know if that was his last fight, but Kyle Nelson really tried to slow Steve down on the cage, man, and paid for it. You know what I'm saying? Paid for. So I didn't really think Calvin Kattar wanted to get into that kind of a mix with Steve Garcia, because we've seen what Steve does in those situations when somebody tries to slow him down. It just turns out worse for that person, man. But shout out to my boy Steve, the Mean Machine Garcia, the coldest motherfucker in the game. Shout out to him, man. You know, he is looking at form, man. He's looking like that threat at 145 pounds. You know what I'm saying? He's looking like that threat. So, you know, look forward to, you know, I know Steve is going to take a vacation with his family. I've already talked to him. You know, I know he's going to take a vacation with his family. And then after that, it's time to sit down and talk to No Filter. It's time to sit down and talk to the coldest motherfucker in the game. So look forward to that Steve Garcia interview coming soon, guys. We're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna talk about how he felt in there. He looked big. Like, he looked big. That's why I be telling Steve, like, man, you look big in there at 45. He doesn't think so, though. You know what I'm saying? He thinks he's matched well at you know, size-wise at 45, but Steve Garcia is a big 45er, man. Like, he looked big in there. He looked long, and he fights kind of hunched over, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if he was one of those fighters that stood up straight, you know what I'm saying? How big he would be, you know what I'm saying? But Steve is big, man. And he looked great last night. But anyways, guys, let me know how you feel about Steve Garcia going out here and defeating Calvin Kattar unanimously. This is your boy BJ, back from No Filter MMA. Drop those comments in the comment section. Hit that like, hit that dislike. And if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And your boy is out.